If you're a man, if you're a lady, if you're young or you're old and you live in the UK, you'll know all about the ridiculous car insurance prices we have to pay. And I mean, in most cases, if you're 17 years old and you've just passed your driving test, you'll be paying double in insurance of what the actual car's worth. But I know a few little tricks that can help out with that, because I'm 18 years old and I've just insured this, a 225 horsepower Audi TT for £1,400, which is less than my Volkswagen Polo. Let me give you a quick rundown on my situation first. I'm 18 years old. I've just managed to get my 1 year's no claims bonus and I'm wanting to move on for my Volkswagen Polo. 100 horsepower is plenty of fun, especially when it had a remap and some Porsche wheels. I loved that car, but I wanted something a bit more exciting. And considering my first year cost me £3,000 on insurance, including a black box, yes, a black box, a teenager's idea of hell, I decided to move on to something a bit more exciting. And because I do actually work in an insurance agency, I do know some sort of tips and tricks and some stuff you can do to get cheaper insurance. And one of those things was buying a car like this, an Audi TT 225 Quattro. Now I know on paper an 18-year-old having a car like this, a car with 225 horsepower, four-wheel drive and 151 mile an hour top speed, isn't really what you'd expect. I mean, you'd think this cost me an arm and a leg, but it cost me just £1,400 to insure, and that's just with 1 year's no claims bonus at 18 years old. And keep in mind that my Volkswagen Polo, I was quoted £2,000, as in £600 more than this, which is a much faster car, has way more features, and probably costs more to repair. But let me tell you why I got this for so cheap. Well, the first reason I got the thing for so cheap is because I thought ahead. If you start an insurance policy on the same day, as if you call up the company on the 27th and start the policy on the 27th, they're going to pull your pants down. And I mean ridiculously. No lube, no... They will pull your pants down. No lube, just raw. I mean, seriously, I started a policy on this car about 3 weeks ahead of time. Doing it 3 weeks ahead of time saved me, go on, guess, how much do you think it saved me? That's right, £500. And then the next tip, the next thing you should do if you're taking out a new insurance policy, and that is call the insurance company. Chances are, on the phone, they can offer you a much, much better deal. I mean, once again, let's take me as an example. I did a quote online for my Audi TT. I was quoted £1,600, which I'll be honest, I was more than happy with. It was way cheaper than my Polo was, and for an Audi TT at 18 years old, that was plenty cheap for me. However, I called up the insurance company. I said to them, can I do this all properly? I want to take out the policy, pay for it now, no problems. And they said, oh, yes, Mr. Norman, of course you can. Oh, and while you're on the phone, we've just realised we can save you £200. So I got the policy for 1,400 quid. No changes are made. That's the exact same policy that I did online. But they saved me £200 by simply giving them a call. So if you do have a spare 5 minutes in your day, just call up that person that quotes cheapest online, explain your situation, and chances are you're going to save even more money. Please do ignore me if I'm completely out of breath. I decided for this video, rather than just driving my car around, I thought I'd go out in the country. You know, nice place, but for someone who sits in his bed all day, it's quite draining on the body. And of course, there are plenty of other ways to get cheaper insurance. For example, let's say you add another driver on. In my case, I'm a sole driver on my policy because everyone I know has points, and having points in your licence does mean it's more expensive. However, if you manage to get a nice father, a nice mother, a nice grandparent with a fresh licence, no claims, nothing, chances are you're going to save another couple of £100. They don't have to drive. Well, they do have to drive. I mean, if they've got no licence, they can't be insured. But if they sit on the policy and haven't drove a car a day in their life, that's no problem because they're bringing your price down. But I'm nowhere near finished of how many things you can do to get that insurance price down. Take, for example, your job. What is it? for me, I'm an administration assistant if you want to get technical. But going on to a certain website, which I'll leave in the description, it will show you a big list of jobs which are similar to yours, which count as the same thing. For example, I am officially insured as an administrator because that saved me £150. It's the same job. An administration assistant and an administrator is the same thing. A clerical assistant. They all go down as the same thing on insurance. If you do end up having a bump and going through insurance, don't worry, because you're still insured, because that job is still the same. But you've just saved yourself a few £100. And then, of course, the most important thing when it comes down to getting some cheap insurance. What car do you drive? Now, things like Vauxhall Corsas, Renault Clios, Volkswagen Polos, Ford Fiestas, whatever you like, you know the cars we're talking about. Cars which have a 1 litre engine. People usually, when I say people, I mean the parents, usually think that they're the cheapest cars on insurance because they're so slow and careful and no child can get into an accident. That's got no relevance really. Things like Vauxhall Corsas, Fiestas, so on, are absolutely outrageous on insurance because so many young people get them and then crash them. I mean, I had a Volkswagen Polo. I fell for the trap. Admittedly, I had a weird engine one, the 1.9 TDI, which meant my insurance wasn't silly. I mean, still £3,000. But like I said, it was £2,000 for my second year, whereas this was £1,400. And that's because a car like this, a 25-year-old sports car, something with loads of power, loads of cool features, well, they're old man cars. They are, just admit it. They're old man cars. Things like these, Porsche Boxsters and Mercedes S-Classes, they are all so cheap on insurance because old men or old ladies get them and just carefully drive them. Chances are they haven't had a claim in 25 years. They haven't even dared going over the speed limit, which means insurance rates are absolutely nothing. So when I was looking at cars to get after my Volkswagen Polo, I considered so many different options just like this. A Porsche Boxster, for example. Yes, it's a Porsche, but it was so cheap on insurance. And then a Jaguar XJR, the most jag you can get. A supercharged V8, rear-wheel drive, and a 4-speed auto. I believe they're 4-speed, please do correct me if I'm wrong. But something like that is just so carefully driven. Despite having 370 horsepower, a car like that is so cheap on insurance for young drivers. So if you're out there trying to buy a new car, don't just get a Ford Fiesta, don't get a Polo, don't listen to your parents. Go out there and get something outrageous. Something like this with 225 horsepower. Yes, it may only have a 1.8 litre engine, but because it's got a massive turbo, it's pretty quick. And even if you already have a car and you've just gone on YouTube and searched up how to get my insurance cheaper, listen to the other things I've said. It's not all about your car. You can get such cheap insurance by just fiddling about and compare the market for half an hour. Just take some time, just have a look into it, change round some of the details. No, don't lie. I'm not telling anyone to lie, but mess around with your job title, add some drivers on, put the start date a week in advance, and I bet you that your insurance will come way down. And just to prove everything I've said, I'm going to do an insurance quote as a normal person would do it. Starting on the day, one driver on their Volkswagen Polo. And then I'll do one telling you all the tricks that I've just said, and we'll find out if the price comes down. I'm back. Now, last thing you would have seen is me saying I'm going to do some insurance quotes. And that's why I've got the trusty iPhone 7. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know by now, if I ever need to record something on my phone, well, being a low-cost YouTuber, I use my main phone to record, so the cracked old iPhone 7 is the best backup I've got. Let's keep it simple, compare the market, and then I can actually use those tips that I just gave you and see if they're actually going to work, or if I'm just a big fat liar. Now, to keep things simple, I'm just going to base it off of my Volkswagen Polo, which I actually insured as a first car, because I'm sure a lot of people watching this, not just insuring their second car, but insuring their first one. That first year is always the big expensive one. We'll say we'll do 10,000 miles a year, we'll keep it average. So rather than put my actual date of birth, which is 2006, I'm going to whack a year on, so 2007, to give it an actual 17-year-old experience. And we'll use my job, administration assistant, put that in at the start, mess about with it, see if we can get it down. And we'll say we've just got our driving licence as of April 2025, starting it on the same day. Okay, so putting in those rough details, starting the policy say on a Volkswagen Polo for a 17-year-old, the cheapest quote we have coming in is £10,838.77. £10,000 for a £1,000 car. I'll be honest, First Central, I'm not going to take up that quote, I'll be honest with you, sorry mate. Oh, let's actually do some of the tips I said and see if we can at least get these quotes into maybe sub £10,000 territory. Obviously, the car is going to be a massive dependent, and it also, throughout a year, insurance changes. It sounds silly, but if you look at a quote in January and then look at a quote in February, the prices will be completely different. It's a hard game to play. So let's say start date is the maximum we can do. 9th of May, a full month away. There you go. See, all I just did then was make the start date from today to a month away, and instantly that quote of £10,000 has dropped to 9,500. But that's not what matters right now. But what does matter is quote me happy now quotes at £3,700. Still a pretty ridiculous price, but £3,700 from £10,000 by just changing the start date. Already a big improvement. And like I mentioned, let's mess around with our job title, see if there's anything we can find that will bring the price down even more. Let's go from administration assistant to administrator, which is what I did for my actual policy, and it worked. So let's see if the quotes are still going to be the same. And as Keith Lemon said back in the day, chatting. Already, by just changing my job title from assistant to administrator, the price has come down another £400 to 3,300. Now, unfortunately, Quote Me Happy is one of those annoying bastard online companies where you can't give them a call, which means you can't just give them a call and ask for a lower price, you'll have to email it in. But even then, they might still be able to offer something. And may I remind you, I just did this quote for a first car, a 17-year-old who's just passed his test, and I'm already looking at £3,000, which is basically what I paid. So if you're going to take in one tip from this video, start your policy ahead. Be clever. If you start the policy on the same day, you're going to be paying a lot more money. If you even start it a few days ahead of time, a few weeks, the further the better. You're going to be saving yourself so much money. At the end of the day, no matter what you do, UK car insurance is absolutely ridiculous, especially at the moment. So many things are going up and insurance is just through the roof. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one where I'm going to be taking my old Audi TT for a bash down some country lanes. See ya.